Now, some of you have probably saw the earlier video of making straw bale potatoes or planting straw bale potatoes for winter. I thought you may appreciate a little more detail about how I prep these bales or condition the bales for planting. I'm starting bales here to plant tomatoes in probably August, so late winter, in preparation for the spring. So I'll show you how I do it. Now the first thing is that when you put the bales down, you need to put them with the cut edge up. Now bales have a folded edge and a cut edge, and if you examine them you'll soon see the difference. You're putting the cut edge up so that the actual straw is open to receive moisture and nutrition and hold it. This will start the composting process better. You're also using the edge and not the flat side because you can actually open this up when you want to plant in it, and it's much easier to get your plants into it. Now of course you can't just plant into raw bales like this because there's lots of carbon, no nitrogen, your plant's not going to do very well at all. So what we're going to do is feed the bales nitrogen over a few days to turn them into, or begin to turn them into compost. Before doing this, I wanted you to have a look at the temperature in the bales, and I thought we might make a comparison over a few days to show you how the temperature in the bales rises. So if we put the thermometer in there now, you'll see that the temperature in the bale currently is really hardly any different to air temperature. Now, because I like to do this organically, what I use, and because it's what I have available that I can purchase to condition the bales, is a blood and bone product or a meat meal. That's the whole animal turned into a powder, very rich in nitrogen, and I simply sprinkle that very generously across the top of the bale. Now you could use good fresh chook manure if you had that available, or any other organic nitrogen source that you had available. As you see, that's quite a bit that I'm putting on. Now I'm going to water this blood and bone into the bale, trying to force it down into the bale as much as I can under pressure. This is simply feeding the nitrogen into the bale to start the composting process. Now this process is going to be repeated a few times over a few days. I'll bring you each day, if I can, showing you what's happening with the bales as I put it in. Get the blood and bone down as deep as you can, dissolving it, putting it into the bale. Now as an extra, because I have it available, I am going to pour some compost tea into the bale. Now if you don't have this, you could use probably seaweed, liquid seaweed would be really good. This will help start the process off. The compost tea of course contains probably lots of microorganisms as well as nutrition. It will really start the composting going, and I'll keep adding that as it's available. For the final stage of today's preparation, I'm going to water the bales to try and saturate them with water. Now I'll leave that running until the bales look to be well and truly saturated. If you're able to measure it, it should be to the stage till water runs out the bottom of the bale, but it's really hard to judge that here. I will probably leave that on for at least an hour. Okay, back here on day 2 of the straw bale conditioning, and basically I'm going to repeat what I did yesterday. Before I do, we'll take the temperature of the bales and see if they've changed at all. Now the air temperature today is around 11 degrees, so let's see what's happening in the bales. Now that temperature is going up straight away by quite a bit, and it's approaching 19 or 20 degrees. So there is already some significant difference between the air temperature and the bale temperature just after 24 hours. So once again, I'm spreading a generous amount of blood and bone across the top of these bales, and I'll come back and water that in a moment. So again, watering it in, trying to force it down into the bale as much as possible so that it disappears from the surface. Also, I am again adding compost tea to the bales. Because we've had heavy rain overnight, this is a lot more dilute than it normally is, but what I've got, so I'll add it to it and still put a lot of nice nutrients in. Concentrates there in the bottom. Now, what I'm not going to do today is put the sprinkler on, because the bales are nicely saturated now and the water that I use to water the blood and bone in will be sufficient. And I will now leave them for a couple of days, and we'll come back in a couple of days and see how they're going. Now, I thought you might be interested to see the end result, what you actually create on the soil or in the soil after the straw bales have broken down. This here in my hand is the compost that is left, the straw bales that are completely broken down from last year, and this is fantastic stuff and a wonderful addition to the soil. Back on day 4 of the process of conditioning these bales, and I've got the same ingredients to add to the bales, some more blood and bone and some more compost tea, and then again I'll come and water it in. But first I thought we could check the temperature of the bales. The air temperature today is pretty cool, so it'll be interesting to see what's happening in the bales. The temperature in the bales has risen quite a bit. It is still a little bit patchy. There's some spots in the bales that are warmer than others. That's naturally because of the fact that the blood and bone hasn't yet penetrated, it hasn't been watered in enough and hasn't been fully fed. So there's some sections that have more nitrogen in them than others and are beginning the composting process faster. So again, be generous, the blood and bone. Back on day 7, and I'm squinting a bit because the sun is actually shining today in the middle of winter, and it's quite warm here in the hothouse. The air temperature is considerably hotter than it has been. A lot warmer in here than outside. But today is the 7th day of conditioning these straw bales, and today I'm not going to add any more nitrogen to the bales. I'm simply going to show you the temperature in the bales, and looking at that you will see that it has risen considerably and now is sitting around 40 degrees Celsius. So it's really starting to compost in these bales now. So all I'm going to do today is I'm going to add some more of the compost tea, and I will water the bales fairly well again to try and get that nitrogen that's already in there to go further into the bale. So this is really the completion of the conditioning process. It'll be another 7 days before these bales cool down sufficiently to plant in. I'm not actually intending to plant in these bales probably for another 3 to 4 weeks. so they'll be well and truly cooled down by that time. And I might bring you some further film of planting in straw bales at that stage. But this is the process to use if you want to get your bales ready to plant. One of the good spots for it is if you're wanting to start a new garden and all you have is lawn. What it means is you don't have to dig the soil or get rid of the grass. You can just put the straw bales straight on top, condition the bales and plant directly into it. So give it a go.